The wrestling world just got hit with a bombshell that nobody saw coming, and what General Manager Nick Aldis revealed about Jacob Fatu's brutal attack has left fans absolutely stunned. For weeks everyone has been pointing fingers trying to figure out who would be bold enough to take down one of the most dangerous men in wrestling, and the answer is going to change everything you thought you knew about what's happening behind the scenes. If you want to stay ahead of every twist and turn in this unfolding drama, then hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Jacob Fatu has been an unstoppable force since stepping into the spotlight, and his presence alone has struck fear into the hearts of his opponents. The Samoan werewolf earned that nickname through years of brutal matches where he demolished anyone who stood in his way, and his reputation as one of the most physically imposing athletes in the business is well deserved. When someone like Fatu goes down, it sends shockwaves through the entire locker room, because if he can be taken out, then nobody is safe. The attack that left him laid out backstage wasn't just another wrestling angle or storyline beat, but something that felt disturbingly real, and that's what made fans so desperate for answers. Nick Aldis has been running things with an iron fist as general manager, and his no-nonsense approach to leadership has earned him respect from both fans and wrestlers alike. When the attack on Fatu happened, Aldis immediately launched an investigation because an assault of that magnitude couldn't go unanswered. The locker room was buzzing with speculation, and every wrestler became a potential suspect in what quickly turned into the hottest mystery in wrestling. Aldis conducted interviews, reviewed security footage, and followed every lead that came across his desk because he knew that allowing this kind of violence to go unpunished would set a dangerous precedent. The list of potential suspects seemed endless at first because Fatu had made plenty of enemies during his rise to prominence. There were wrestlers he had brutalized in the ring who might have wanted revenge, and there were competitors who saw him as an obstacle to their own championship aspirations. Some fans theorized it could be someone from his past coming back to settle an old score, while others believed it might be orchestrated by a rival faction looking to weaken his group. The speculation reached a fever pitch on social media, with fans creating elaborate theories about who could have orchestrated such a calculated attack on someone as dangerous as Fatu. Aldis kept his cards close to his chest during the investigation and refused to share any details until he was absolutely certain about what happened. This silence only fueled more speculation and made fans even more anxious to learn the truth. The tension in the arena was electric every time Aldis appeared on screen because everyone knew he was holding crucial information that would blow the case wide open. His methodical approach to the investigation showed that he wasn't interested in rushing to judgment or making accusations without solid evidence to back them up. When Aldis finally called for a press conference to address the situation, the anticipation reached an all-time high. Fans packed arenas and tuned in from around the world to hear what he had discovered during his investigation. The atmosphere was charged with electricity as Aldis stepped up to the podium with a folder containing all the evidence he had gathered. His expression was stern and serious, reflecting the gravity of what he was about to reveal. This wasn't just about solving a mystery, but about maintaining order and ensuring that justice would be served. The revelation that came from Aldis's mouth shocked everyone in attendance and watching at home. The attacker wasn't some random jealous competitor or a returning legend with a grudge, but someone who had been operating in plain sight the entire time. The identity of Fatu's attacker exposed a much deeper conspiracy than anyone had imagined, and the implications of this revelation extended far beyond just one assault. Aldis methodically laid out the evidence, showing security footage, witness testimonies, and a timeline that proved beyond any doubt who was responsible for taking down the Samoan werewolf. What made this revelation even more shocking was the motive behind the attack. This wasn't about personal revenge or championship opportunities, but about power and control within the organization. The attacker had been carefully planning this move for weeks, if not months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike when Fatu was most vulnerable. The calculated nature of the assault showed that this was someone who understood Fatu's strengths and weaknesses intimately and knew exactly how to take him down without getting caught in the act. The fallout from Aldis's announcement was immediate and explosive. Wrestlers in the locker room who had previously been united suddenly found themselves questioning who they could trust. The revelation created new alliances and destroyed old ones as everyone tried to figure out where they stood in this new landscape. Fans online erupted with reactions ranging from complete shock to claims that they had suspected this person all along. The wrestling community was completely divided on how to process this information and what it meant for the future. Fatu himself responded to the news with a mixture of anger and determination once he recovered enough to speak publicly. The attack had left him injured but not broken, and his vow for revenge sent chills down everyone's spine. Knowing who attacked him only intensified his desire for retribution, and he made it clear that he wouldn't rest until he had his hands on the person responsible. His response added another layer of danger to an already volatile situation because everyone knew what Fatu was capable of when he was angry and focused on a target. The person responsible for the attack tried to justify their actions with a lengthy explanation about why they felt Fatu needed to be taken down. They claimed that Fatu's dominance was hurting the business and preventing others from having opportunities to shine. They argued that someone needed to level the playing field and that their attack was about making things more competitive for everyone. These justifications fell flat with most fans, who saw the attack for what it really was, which was a cowardly assault on someone they couldn't beat in a fair fight. Aldis made it clear that there would be serious consequences for this attack despite any justifications the perpetrator tried to offer. He announced that disciplinary action would be swift and severe because allowing this kind of behavior to go unpunished would create chaos throughout the entire organization. The punishment he handed down was unprecedented in its severity and sent a clear message to everyone in the locker room that this kind of conduct would never be tolerated under his watch as general manager. The wrestling landscape shifted dramatically after this revelation as storylines were rewritten and new feuds were born from the chaos. Other wrestlers who had stayed neutral suddenly found themselves forced to pick sides in what had become an all-out war. Tag teams split up as partners found themselves on opposite sides of this conflict and championships became secondary to the personal battles that erupted. The entire organization was transformed by this single act of violence and its exposure. Security measures were immediately increased following Aldis's announcement as the organization moved to prevent any similar incidents from happening in the future. Backstage areas that were once accessible to everyone became restricted zones with enhanced surveillance and security personnel stationed at key locations. Wrestlers were given new protocols for their safety and everyone had to adjust to this new reality where trust had become a luxury nobody could afford. The attack on Fatu had exposed vulnerabilities in the system that Aldis was determined to fix. The media coverage of this story exploded as mainstream outlets picked up on the drama unfolding in the wrestling world. Sports journalists who typically ignored wrestling suddenly found themselves covering this story because of its dramatic elements and shocking revelations. The crossover attention brought new eyes to the product and casual fans who hadn't watched in years tuned in to see what would happen next. This incident became one of those rare moments when wrestling transcended its usual audience and captured the attention of the broader entertainment world. Behind the scenes there were reports of heated confrontations between various parties involved in this situation. Wrestlers who felt they deserved to know the truth earlier confronted Aldis about his handling of the investigation while others supported his decision to keep things quiet until he had all the facts. The locker room became a pressure cooker of emotions and tensions that threatened to boil over at any moment. Management had to step in multiple times to prevent physical altercations between wrestlers who were letting their emotions get the better of them. The psychological impact of this revelation on Fatu cannot be overstated because learning the identity of his attacker changed how he viewed everyone around him. The betrayal cut deeper than the physical injuries he sustained and created trust issues that would take a long time to heal. His performances in the ring took on a new intensity as he channeled his anger and pain into every move he executed. Opponents who faced him after the revelation found themselves dealing with a version of Fatu that was even more dangerous than before because now he was fighting with something to prove. Fans began creating elaborate fantasy booking scenarios about how the situation would be resolved and what matches would come from this revelation. Online forums exploded with discussion about potential match stipulations and how the eventual confrontation between Fatu and his attacker should be structured. The anticipation for their inevitable clash reached levels rarely seen in wrestling because everyone knew it would be more than just another match but a deeply personal battle with real emotion behind every strike. The business implications of this storyline were significant as merchandise sales spiked and ticket sales for upcoming events increased dramatically. Fans wanted to be in the building when Fatu finally got his hands on the person who attacked him and they were willing to pay premium prices for the opportunity. The organization capitalized on this interest by strategically booking appearances and teasing confrontations without giving away the big payoff too soon. The economic boost this storyline provided proved once again that compelling storytelling drives business in wrestling. Aldis continued to play a crucial role in managing this situation as he tried to maintain order while also allowing the natural drama to unfold. His decisions about match bookings and backstage interactions were scrutinized by everyone as fans tried to figure out his endgame. Some accused him of exploiting the situation for ratings while others praised him for handling a difficult scenario with professionalism. His reputation as general manager would ultimately be defined by how this entire situation was resolved. The ripple effects of this revelation touched every corner of the organization from the top stars down to developmental talent trying to make a name for themselves. Everyone understood that the rules had changed and the old ways of doing business no longer applied in this new environment. Wrestlers became more cautious about who they trusted and paranoia crept into backstage interactions that used to be casual and friendly. The attack on Fatu had fundamentally altered the culture of the entire locker room in ways that would last long after this immediate situation was resolved. As this story continues to develop, one thing remains absolutely certain, which is that wrestling fans around the world will be glued to their screens waiting to see what happens next. The revelation of Fatu's attacker was just the beginning of what promises to be an epic saga filled with revenge confrontations and unexpected twists. Nick Aldis exposed the truth, but now everyone has to live with the consequences of that truth being out in the open. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you never miss an update on this developing situation and all the other breaking news from the wrestling world, because the story is far from over and the best chapters are still yet to be written.